Okay, explosive day here in Washington, D.C. We have an absolutely packed show. We're going to go around from Florida to Georgia to Arizona, all of it. We got a lot going on. I want to bring in Boris Epshteyn first. Boris, I've got to ask you, we just finished literally in War and Pandemic watching, I think, 45 minutes of Senator Josh Hawley completely eviscerating Judge Jackson. I want to ask you about the politics of this now. This went from a very easy, on a glide slope, but particularly the Democrats are going to use this as a great story. This confirmation's in trouble, but more importantly, this is going to be a tough vote. This is going to be a tough vote for senators in Arizona, Nevada, Democrats to vote for this.
West Virginia. Let's keep in mind, and Steve, an honor to be with you, of course, today, no doubt about it, on such a major day. In West Virginia right now, there is going to be a major problem because Manchin, who has been the blockade on so many things for a hapless, pathetic, said feckless, illegitimate Joe Biden, he may look at this and say, hey, I'm a no-go, baby. And that's it. That game over. They have none to lose. It's 50-50. They have none to lose. So this is not like the nomination.
That's not true. By the way, the reason that's no, because Collins and Romney today, Romney's tweeting out that, hey, it's inappropriate for Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz to be going down this line. Remember, Morning Mika said today, if
they lose Manchin, Steve,
go ahead.
I think that Mitch McConnell somehow, some way, at least has to be able to corral Romney and Collins. If he can't, then, honestly, there's no reason we're in the business, because then Republicans, there's nothing to do for the rest of the year. We just have to wait until Mitch McConnell is no longer a leader, which he should not be, come January of 2023. If Manchin is a no, I'm going to stick with what I said. I believe there's none to lose, because I think how are Romney and Collins going to be possibly looked at home, especially Romney now he's got a challenger in that seat. There's no way they can be the tie-breaking votes for Judge Jackson. It's easy to say that when it's 50-50 and that Kamala Harris is going to pick the vote.
Before we had Mike Davis from Article 3 on the show last week, and then Hawley picked it up, started tweeting out the Twitter stream, this was on a glide slope. What's your assessment? Is this nomination in trouble? Because you still got the conservative media that still has the pom-poms after. Why do you say it's in trouble?
It's a trouble because of exactly what I said. If you lose one Democrat, be it Sinema, be it Manchin, be it the senator from Nevada, if you lose one Democrat, there's just, again, I see very few ways in which Republicans who want to stay in politics, Romney and Collins do, Murkowski does, are going to be a vote that puts Judge Jackson over the top. They're going to say, well, more information's come out, and now we've got a real problem. That's how these rhino Republicans, that's how these bellwether Republicans act, right? Whichever way it goes, that's the way they're going to go. So I do think that this nomination is in trouble, but it's only in trouble if the posse continues to do what it's done, which is put its shoulder to the wheel, like the intro to this amazing show says, put our shoulder to the wheel and continue to bring the heat. Because now this nomination just became must-see TV. It wasn't before. The confirmation was going to be a snooze fest. Now it's must-see TV, and we're going to see how it develops. But it is absolutely a problem, and the substance of the issue is a problem. There's a reason that the chair of the Judiciary Committee, Durbin, did not want to release Jackson's records at the Sentencing Commission, right? There's a reason for that. And what's the reason? It's because she has been light on some of the worst offenders really to think of in America.
Okay, I want everybody in the posse, write this number down, 202-224-3121. That is the switchboard for the United States Senate. Want everybody to call. You have to be color inside the line, but you have to lean into this. Boldly. Get to your senator and boldly and say, hey, it's nothing about Judge Jackson, but we need all the records, particularly the 48,000 pages of all these documents from the Sentencing Commission turned over. Her answers, I'm not a lawyer, Boris. I know you went to one of the top law schools in the country. She did not answer she had every opportunity today to go yard on this, knock it out of the park. She was confronted with these cases and confronted with the details of it, And, as someone that kind of trains people how not to answer questions sometimes, she did not answer questions, and she had all these Democratic senators would have to come in and clean up afterwards, and the trouble, and Durbin constantly coming in, but she's not prepared. And I'm shocked about this. She certainly was not prepared for the depth of the analysis that Hawley, Cruz, and others did. And quite frankly, on the CRT, I hate to say the judge lied, but she sat there and they asked her straight out, or is taught in schools. She goes, no. And then they give her a board that she sits on, was at Georgetown, the Georgetown Grammar School or Georgetown Elementary. She goes, oh, well, I thought you were just talking about public schools. I didn't know you were talking about private schools. I mean, that just strains credulity. And some of her answers are almost like that. It's like she's not even being straightforward.
Well, you know what that goes back to?
Offer that up is lack of preparation. Boris.
It's lack of preparation, Steve. And you and I went through a major confirmation of Justice Gorsuch together. I was head of surrogates. You were, of course, the senior strategist at the White House. And remember, it is the White House that runs this process, right? It's not as if the nominee comes in with a huge team who prepares them. It's the White House. And could you imagine what the Biden White House has dealt to Judge Jackson, who's got a very troubling judicial past, no doubt about it, right? Now, but having said that, the team they've given her, I'm sure, is awful. They've got Doug Jones, the hapless poor guy out of Alabama, who got knocked out, quicker than you could blink by Tommy Tuberville, right? He's her Sherpa over there in the Senate. And you've got, Jen Psaki's people doing her comms and preparing her. So if she's unprepared, well, look at the rest of the Biden White House. They're all unprepared. As we've always said, it's a communication problem.
It's like Afghanistan.
Right. Yeah. It's a communication problem. Terrible. It's a policy problem. It's a politics problem.
Yeah. Okay. You've got to bounce. We got polling to go through, but I want to bring in the chairman of the GOP in Arizona before you bounce, because we have to have a shout out.
She's a star
for the great Kelli Ward. Can we get she's a star? Trump loves her. The grassroots love her. I think she's the only a handful of grassroots chairmen in the Republican Party. Chairman Ward.
The best.
Huge victory today. You engineered this. Tell us what's happened, because we're the precinct committee guys. We've been in the mumble tank, but Kelli Ward, Chairman Ward, came and bailed us out. Tell us what happened today.
Well, it has been a crazy couple of weeks. I mean, we've got the America's audit, justified. You can find out more about it in my book. I had to testify before the J6 committee. That was exciting. We have a lawsuit. Stop uncontested, unreasoned mail-in voting, get rid of drop boxes that are unmanned, and require real signature verification on our ballots. And then we have the legislature putting through a bill that would make precinct committeeman elections null and void and allow about 15 people in the Republican Party of Arizona to choose who the state committee would be made up of. So the legislature proposed a lot of possible solutions, but none of them were possible without an emergency clause, which takes 2/3 of the entire legislature to pass through, and the Democrats refused to cooperate. So we said, we are going to use our time, we are going to use our resources, we are going to use our money to fight for our precinct committeemen, the lowest and most close to the people elected officials that exist. And we took them to court, and we said this law that they rushed through was unconstitutional. Attorney General agreed with us. We went to court in conservative Yavapai County. The judge agreed, and Section 4 of 2839 is off the books, and our precinct committeemen will be elected.
I love that.
So this means we're back to the way it was, right? The precinct committee people can go sign up, they can go, and then they get elected, and we're back to where we originally were, correct?
Yes, we are. And so I hope to see a lot of contested races in these precincts because I think that the people, the Republicans of our state, deserve to elect the people who represent them inside the party. And not just the Republicans. The Democrats deserve to elect who represents them in the party, as well as the Libertarians. Those are the three parties that we have in Arizona. And unfortunately, the Democrats just didn't want to do it. They don't care about their grassroots. All they care about is big money, dark money, and destroying this nation. But we believe in those building blocks. And really, I have to tell you, Steve, I think if somebody else would have been chairman at this time, this never would have happened. People would just stand along the side, wring their hands and say, oh, there's nothing we can do. It's just too late. I will tell you that the governor was considering calling a special session. And I just got notified through the grapevine that to have that special session and to have Paul Boyer, the despicable Paul Boyer, come on board and vote for the election integrity measure, rid of what they tried to do. He wanted $1 billion, $1 billion in additional education funding for public schools. Ridiculous. Now we know Paul Boyer's price. I guess it's $1 billion.
The chairman's coming in hot.
Boris, I know you got to. Boris, I know you got to punch. Anything for the chairman before you take off? We'll get to the polling tomorrow morning. Anything for Chairman Ward?
First of all, great job, Chairman Ward. Unbelievable. Whenever I'm in Arizona, I go to any grassroots event, the chairman's right there. Amazing work. And this is all about, what I want to confirm with you is that it's all about the MAGA posse, right? It's all about the war room. It's all about the MAGA movement under the leadership of President Trump. Today, President Trump just put out information that he's up by 12 on favorability, 59-47 on feckless Joe Biden. So this is MAGA heat coming through strong in Arizona. Isn't that right?
Exactly right. This is MAGA. This is America First. This is taking back our party from the terrible people like Mitt Romney and Susan Collins and Paul Boyer and Bill Gates and Jack Sellers and the Board of Supervisors and all of the people who have been trying to thwart the efforts of this movement. We are not going to sit down. We are not going to be silent. And we are not going to be shamed. We're going to continue because we put America first.
I love that.
I love that. Boris, give us your social media before you bounce. I'm gonna keep Chairman Ward on here for a couple minutes.
You got it. Thank you so much, Steve. Chairman Ward, keep killing it. The newsletter going out tomorrow morning. Go sign up right now. Hot. BorisCP.com is the hot website. BorisCP.com. Hot on Getter at BorisCP. On Twitter at BorisCP. Truth Social at Boris. And of course, the hottest on the gram, Boris_Epshteyn. Stay strong. God bless. I'll see you tomorrow.
Boris, thank you very much. We'll have a lot of data and analysis tomorrow. I want to go back to Chairman Kelli Ward, head of the GOP in Arizona. The first question I think people have, and I want a nationwide audience to get to know you better, Kelli. Why are there not more grassroots leaders? You came up the hard way. You're a grassroots fighter. And quite frankly, if we hadn't had the screw up of the endorsement in 2016, you would have been a sitting U.S. senator right now and beaten John McCain in that primary. But why are there not more grassroots GOP leaders at the state party level, ma'am, do you think?
Well, I think you'd be surprised. The grassroots movement and MAGA and America First is infiltrating the RNC as well as state parties all around this country. But I'm just going to tell you, it's much easier to be the yes man, to be the person that gives cover to bad Republicans, like the ones I just called out a few minutes ago. There are many more. I can call them out as well. Paul Boyer and Michelle Ugenti-Rita, in fact, killed 16 election integrity bills last week. People need to know their names. They need to know their names so they don't go anywhere else. And they don't continue to cause destruction of the America First principles that we hold so dear. And so it's easy, though, whenever you're rubbing elbows, going to cocktail parties, to be on Team Yes. But that's gotten our country into this place where we are now, which is that you can barely tell the difference between the two parties. But I will tell you that the Republican Party, the America First Republican Party, is strong. We are standing up for faith, family, and freedom. We are standing up for smaller government and low taxes and personal responsibility and following the United States Constitution. It's hard for some people to go on, Steve. I mean, you've been batted around, beaten, tried to get rid of you so many times through the media and through the left and through some people on the right. I've been through some semblance of that as well. But when we come forward and we stay strong, we give other people so much hope to stay the course. And thank you for what you do every single day. Thank you for standing up for what so many of us believe. And I hope that I can be just a small shining example of what you, as one of our leaders, have put forward.
Well, thank you for the kind words, but it's all dependent upon people like you in this audience. Real quickly, we had Mike Lindell today. As a firefight out there in Colorado about these machines. You mentioned Paul Boyer. Where do you think we stand right now with the decertification process? I understand Fincham's putting some things up. We're very close in the House, except you got the chairman that won't move forward, the Speaker of the House. You've 1 or 2 votes short in the Senate. Can you give the Kelli Ward, because what you say, I tell people, when Kelli Ward tells you, you can take it to the bank. Where do we really stand with the decertification process? I just saw that Karen Fann put out some tweet yesterday. There's some more stuff in Maricopa County that they won't turn over to Brnovich. But where does Kelli Ward say that we stand right now with the decertification of the Biden electors in the great state of Arizona, ma'am?
Right. Well, of course, I believe that the election should be decertified. I don't want to hear that there's no way to do it. Our country has never been stolen the way it's been stolen. And so we have to look for things that are outside the box. I do have a lot of worry about people like Paul Boyer or Michelle Ugenti-Rita on the Senate side, people like Joel Johns, Michelle Udall, Joanne Osborne, Rusty Bowers on the House side. I don't know that they have the political fortitude or the testosterone, man or woman, to put this forward. If we were Democrats, this would have already been done, and then we would have to be being fought in court. But instead, we want to ask permission to save our country instead of just going out and saving it through the political means, through the judiciary, through the ballot box, etc. I'm thankful for Mark Fincham for what he's putting forward. But I can tell you, in 2022, we have to elect a whole cadre of better Republicans who actually will stand up for Republican principles when the going gets tough. And so that's what, as the chairwoman, what I'm working on at the Republican Party of Arizona, and I hope that's what everybody out there is working on in your own state.
Kelli, what's your social media? How do people follow you on all the different social media platforms, and how do they get to you online?
Well, my website is kelliward.com, Kelli with an I, because I care about the people. Go there. You can find out all kinds of things. You can join the newsletter. You can get a book, any of those things that you want. I'm on all social media platforms so far. I haven't been deplatformed at Kelli Ward AZ, Kelli with an I, Kelli, Ward, Arizona. And I look forward to seeing you there.
Kelli, thank you so much. We'll put the book up in the on our Getter account and all the live platforms. Thank you very much. Honored to have you on here. Huge win out there, Kelli. Only you could do it. Fantastic.
Thanks.
Okay, we're going to get Dan Schultz here in a second, but I got to bring in Mayor Andy Ogles because a big announcement today in Tennessee 5, which has kind of been this highly controversial congressional district in Tennessee. And in Tennessee, the legislature out there are hardcore America First, Trump MAGA movement. They stood up, overrode the governor, got this thing right. I think it's 8-1. More importantly, they redistricted. They really did the district or thing around Nashville the way it should be. Cooper resigned. This thing's going to be a firefight all over. Tennessee 5. Andy, thank you for joining us. You came on this morning, and I got such incredible feedback because you basically announced that you're going to run. You've been mayor there for a while. You're hardcore America First and MAGA. You announced you're going to run for Congress today. Walk us through how's the day been so far?
Yeah, well, first off, thanks for having me this morning. And again, your voice and telling the truth is important as we move forward. And, we're in a firefight, not only here in the 5th, but across the country. And as Chairman Ward said, people have to engage. The future's at stake. I've been blessed. I've been the mayor of Maury County for 3 years. We're the fastest growing county in the state of Tennessee. We're number one for investment income and job creation. So it's a challenging time. But one of the things during COVID is we never gave in to the mandate. We never bowed down to the federal government. I refused to do so. We kept our community open. And I think this race is really going to boil down to Tennessee values. I was born and raised here. My family dates back to the beginning of the state. And again, I just really appreciate you for having me on and giving me this opportunity to talk to you and your listeners.
One of the reasons I want to have you on, we're so focused on Tennessee 5 and what's going on out there. I keep talking to people around there. I say, look, Florida, Texas, Arizona, Trump country have been leaders, but there's something going on in Tennessee that's very special. You got a legislature there. I mean, this is true MAGA. And you see, they stood up, and it was not easy for what they did on this redistricting. Been very easy to go along. And they stiffened the spine of the folks in Missouri. So now we got to fight out there. And quite frankly, I think they really gave some support to Governor DeSantis. And that's why DeSantis just called a special session. You know, the great Michael Pachter Leahy and folks have been breaking stories down there. Sabatini's been fighting for that, who's running for Congress. But there's something going on in Tennessee. Tell me about Tennessee values. Why did Tennessee values and MAGA kind of align? And what does that mean for the United States?
Well, you know, we were 7-2, 7 Republicans, 2 Democrats. Now, because of the General Assembly, we're 8-1. You know, Tennessee is a very conservative state. You know, we're one of the best states in the country, low debt per capita. I mean, you know, we're doing everything right, low taxes, less government. And what we need to do and continue to do is lead the country because, you know, you lead from the front. You lead by example. You know, our founding fathers, you know, it was a laboratory of experiment, a laboratory of legislation. And some states are going to get it right and some are going to get it wrong. And Tennessee over and over again is getting it right. And so even during COVID, you look at counties like Murray County, where we refused to go along. You know, when OSHA came in and tried to shut us down, I told them to pound sand. It's like, if you've got a problem with how we're doing it, you're going to have to arrest me first, and you're not going to touch my employees. And what happened was, as you said, you know, it stiffened the spines. You know, courage is contagious. I said that this morning. And businesses and other mayors and other businesses from across the state said, you know what, I agree with Andy, and we're not going to bow down to this overreach of power. And look, you know, Congress yielded its authority to OSHA, yielded its authority to CMS. We've got to stop letting unelected bureaucrats run our country and let Congress do it, or mandate that Congress do it. Because again, you know, then there's accountability. And when you look at, you know, Tennessee 5, you know, there's 3 presidents from the state of Tennessee, 2 of which have homes in the 5th Congressional District, where I live down in Murray County, James K. Polk. Then up north near Nashville, or in Nashville, is Andrew Jackson. And, you know, both presidents had a vision for this country, both expanded kind of that America First policy in their own rights in their own day. And that's what we need going forward, and why we need Donald Trump back.
Well, I tell you, the very special day when we went out there for Jackson's birthday at the Hermitage, it was just an incredible day for President Trump. Andy, one last thing. I find it very funny that today, I think it was Sean Maloney's the head of the Democratic, the DNC for Congress. He said, hey, we're not running on these mass mandates. In fact, we're running away from the mass mandates now that they understand where the politics has shifted. You showed leadership because early on you're saying, hey, look, I'm going to stand up for freedom. We're not going to do this nonsense. That's the courage. That was back, I think, in May and June of 2020, early on in this pandemic. That showed real courage. How do people find out more about you, Andy? How do they find out more about your campaign?
Yeah, I've got a very active social media. Go to Facebook.com/Andy Ogles. So you go to AndyOgles.com. You know, we're ramping up. You know, I'm just now a candidate, but, you know, leading from the front in the 5th District. I look forward. You know, I'm known as a grassroots guy like Chairman Ward, and I get out there, roll up my sleeves. You know, my time and activity here in Tennessee goes back all the way to the income tax fight back in 2000. And, you know, again, people know I'm from this state. They know me. And I look forward to serving in Congress once we win this thing.
Yeah, I remember you used to come on the old Breitbart radio show with me. So, Andy, thank you very much. Honored to have you on here. Godspeed.
Yes, sir. God bless you.
Thank you, brother. Andy Ogles, the mayor of Murray County, now candidate in Tennessee 5. I want to go to Dan Schultz, the great Dan Schultz, and bring him in. A huge victory today out in Arizona to get this thing set right. I want to make sure everybody understands. Here's the panic that set in. Schultz has been working on this thing for years. It finally starts getting some traction. He's everywhere. War Room comes in, has his back. Steve Stern's going. All of a sudden, you see momentum. People are signing up all over. The media's freaking out about it in full meltdown. And then Donald J. Trump comes out and endorses it. Trump endorses it. Lindell comes in right in back of it. Next thing you know, 4 days later, emergency legislation, Ducey signs it. They're kind of outlawed in Arizona. Then Kelli Ward today, huge victory in court. Let's bring in Dan Schultz. Dan, walk me through how big a deal is this for you today? And are you back in business?
Yeah, it's very good news. If it hadn't happened, we would have recovered. We could have had private caucuses, but I'm glad that this happened. And I'm glad that this judge had the foresight and the strength to essentially tell the legislature, the entire legislature, remember, this was passed unanimously, basically told them, hey, you didn't follow the rules when you passed this. It's not even rational what you pass. So I'm striking it down on a variety of grounds, basically voiding it and entering final judgment. So now we're back to where we were. And now what we need to do is we need to get everybody here in Arizona, go to precinctstrategy.com, my site, learn how to become a precinct committeeman. Kelli Ward had it exactly right. He said we need to have contested elections for all of these races so that it's not where you win by default because there's, 15 slots in a precinct and only 5 or 6 people show up. We're up to 72% filled in Maricopa County now. That's terrific, but I want to get to 100%. Cochise County's at 100%, Graham County's at 100%. We're at 72% now. We're almost at 50% down in Pima. There's no reason why we can't get to 100% and more because we have enough conservatives in Arizona to fill every slot. Only 1 out of 125 Republicans can be a precinct committeeman. So we've got the numbers.
Dan, just hang on for one. Hang on for 1 second. We're going to take a short commercial break. We've got Dan Schultz in Arizona. We're going to go to a precinct committee head in Texas. We got the great Vernon Jones. We got Raynard Jackson. It's a packed second half of We Talk Hardcore Politics here in War Room Battleground. Be back in a moment.
War Room Battleground with Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, we're back to Arizona and Dan Schultz. Dan, walk me through. They've clearly signaled, the establishment signaled that nothing puts a fear of God of them in more than the precinct strategy. And of course, the left-wing media, heck, they've got a guide. One of the magazines that has a huge book deal to do a whole book on the precinct strategy and what's happening. I want you to take a couple minutes because this is just not about Arizona. I want everybody in the nation. Listen, everybody that got upset today by listening to the Supreme Court confirmation hearing, understand something. You can have a voice in this process. And what Dan Schultz offers you is to actually be one of the owners of the Republican Party. You can do that with no money. It doesn't take a donation. You don't have to be a donor. What it takes is your time. Okay. So walk through right now, Dan, how do people get to precinct strategy? What do they have to do when they get there, and talk about this platform that Beatles has built for you guys, the great Robert Beatles, to connect all the grassroots in the country, sir.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve. The first thing you need to do is go to precinctstrategy.com, precinctstrategy.com. I've laid out there what the strategy is. It just takes a few minutes to read. It's real simple. It's essentially participating in your local party. So then I give step-by-step instructions on how to find your local committee and then what to do, how to approach it to get involved in it. Then once you've done that, we'd like you to come on to our Precinct Strategy Communications and Collaboration platform. There's a button at the top of the site that says Connect with Other Conservatives in your state. You click on that button, you get taken to a page where you sign up. It's hosted on a site called pilled.net that's owned by Robert Beatles. Robert and his programmers have set up a communications and collaboration platform where we can share documents, we can chat about issues. We could have been talking about, and people were talking about what was going on in Arizona on this secure, private communications platform. So that's the next thing you need to do. So sign up, get on the platform. We have over 11,000 people now on it nationwide. They're all America Firsters, and you can talk to people in every other state in the union, or just focus on your precinct, your local committee. It's there, and we need to start using it. And my goal is to get all of these positions filled, and then all of the America Firsters in our party on this platform.
President Trump endorsed this a couple of weeks ago, and then the establishment passed a law a couple of days later to ban it because this is what they're afraid of. And, of course, the great Kelli Ward, the chairman, took it to court because you couldn't get it unwound in the legislature. It went to court, and the judge said, this is absurd. This precinct strategy thing is obviously constitutional, and it's going. Dan, you've started a revolution. I want to do at least 10 to 20,000 people a month. It's all free. It takes your time and commitment. Just don't vote. Just don't walk precincts. Just don't knock on doors. Just don't show up on election day, and just don't send money. They don't need you as a donor. What we need you as is an activist that has your voice heard. And here's the thing. It's going to change your life because the camaraderie you're going to see as you're in the fight. You're in the fight when you do this. Dan, real quickly, one more time, precinct strategy, because we're going to start doing examples every day, and we got a great one in Texas we're just about to go to. How do people get there again one more time?
PrecinctStrategy.com, PrecinctStrategy.com. Become an owner, not just a donor of our party. Precinct committeemen are the party. Become one.
You're a hero. I'm glad the court's had your back today, Dan, the great Dan Schultz. Want to go to Laura Rogers now in Henderson County, Texas, who's now part of the precinct strategy movement. Laura, can you tell us your story? Tell us about your journey.
Well, I started this journey a little over a year ago, and I was elected last April to the 1CR county chair in Henderson County, Texas. I want to say Dan and Steve both make this so easy. Anything you need, you can find on PrecinctStrategy.com. We've had the tools there to engage our voters here in the county. This is a rural area. We've seen a vast migration here of people from blue cities and states. And we saw success in the 2020 primaries. We had a 80% Republican turnout. In the 2022 primaries, we had a 90% turnout. 92%.
Wow.
So, and our
Wow.
turnouts overall stayed flat. So that shows you what we were able to accomplish with that. And we use tools and things we've learned from you, from Steve Stern and Dan. Again, I can't stress how easy this is. All you have to do is have the desire to make a difference. We have been working.
Hang on one second, because it is making a difference. But I want to talk. And by the way, she's talking about the great Steve Stern down in Florida. You got Dan Schultz to set this up. Tell people, let's take a minute and talk about the camaraderie and the friends. Once you, one of the things, because I screen everybody that comes on and say, hey, we're going to get you slotted here with this, around the breaking news. The one thing I get from everybody is how much, not just fun, they understand they're doing something with purpose, but they've met people they would have never met in the rest of their lives. And these people have become colleagues, comrades, friends, etc. Tell us about that part of it.
Well, for me, it's great because if there's someone in Texas and they can't figure out, how to get in touch with the right people, they'll reach out to Dan and Steve, and then Dan and Steve connects them to me. And I get to kind of be their mentor and help them through this process. And then we form a bond, and you feed off of each other. What someone's doing in a different county or the issues may be different than our county, but we come together as a team. And a lot of us are focused on the border right now and closing that down. And it's a real passion. And when you share a passion, it's a deep friendship.
I want to say, there's been this controversy for years if Texas is going to flip blue. I've taken the other thing. I said, look, I think we get 50% of the Hispanic vote because they're culturally very conservative, and with MAGA economic policies and also border security, the working class Hispanics will be voting for us in droves. In addition, it's the precinct strategy. Once we energize and empower people like yourselves, we're not going to have to worry about people coming from out of state to turn Texas blue. Now, I know it's tough, particularly with Austin and a lot of these people coming in for California. But talk to me about how the precinct strategy and becoming precinct chairman and people coming to precinct committeemen are actually changing Texas and keeping Texas MAGA.
Well, like I mentioned, we've got the vote out, which has been great. We've worked together on the border, for example. Like I mentioned, our turnout here in Henderson County, we have a high population of Hispanic Americans, and the turnout was great with them. And they let everyone hear their voice, and it's loud and clear. But the great thing is that I'm here in this county, and I work with these people. I see these people every day, and so when I go and talk to them about giving them the data and the facts on what we're voting on or who we're voting on, they listen because I'm somebody they can identify with. And that's very powerful. That's a very powerful mechanism to have in this overall, team that we have.
Laura, how can people get to you? What's your social media? How can people, because I know there's a lot of people around the country who try to have these success stories and say, hey, you can do this. Right? If Laura Rogers can do it, you can do it. So how can people follow you? How can they get to your social media? How do they get to your website?
Yeah, I had zero experience in politics prior to this. So yes, if I can do it, anyone can do it. My getter is LG Rogers, and Rogers is with a D. And my Facebook is Laura Rogers, Henderson County GOP 1CR Precinct Chair. Laura Rogers, Henderson County 1CR Precinct Chair.
Okay, we'll make sure we'll give you a big shout out on Getter and link to you. So thank you. By the way, you're very special. You say, hey, if I could do it, anybody can do it. You've got that grit and determination that this country's built on. So Laura, thank you very much. Honored to have you on here. Look forward to having you back.
Thank you for having me.
You know, the reason we expanded to this second hour is actually tell sort of we're getting down to the nitty gritty of every congressional district, of all these fights are going on, the Senate races, people are, piled up to come onto the show. But the heart of it was for both the moms taking over the school boards, the folks taking over the election boards, the people taking over the precinct strategy. That's why we did this. We wanted to make sure that this hour every day, 5 days a week, was to empower you, to show you that this is the way we're turning the country. This country is going to be saved village by village, county by county, township by township. There's obviously these huge macro issues going on, whether it's the geopolitics coming out of the Eurasian landmass, the Chinese Communist Party or Ukraine, or whether it's these big global forces in capital markets right now, as the dollar looks like it could be the end of King Dollar, which I've told you I'm going to put out this Birch Gold special report I've been working on in the next day or two. But it gets down to the basics. It gets down to the grassroots. It gets down to really the grit and determination of the American people. And that's why we're doing this show. But we do want to focus. We always focus on these tough congressional races. I want to go now, since we've been to Arizona and Texas, I want to go to Georgia and to Tennessee, the great state of Tennessee. I want to go to Georgia 10 and Vernon Jones. Vernon's in a tough primary fight down there in the Republican primary. Vernon, here's what I don't get with as strong as MAGA is in Georgia. We're on the cusp. And look, I'm not saying we don't have a tough fight in Arizona. We do, to decertify this. We absolutely do. We're hung up, but there's a couple of votes in the House and the Senate. In Wisconsin, Gableman has made such huge progress with his investigation, and you got Robin Voss pinned up against the wall about the decertification process there. In Pennsylvania, the appeals court said that the mail-in ballots are unconstitutional. You've got a ton of grassroots and other people that are pressing this right now in a firefight with Shapiro, the attorney general, to get all the documentation of exactly what went on. You've got Mike Lindell. Heck, they got the machine. We're going to have more details on the machines in Colorado, right? What has happened in Georgia? You've been one of the leaders. You're a President Trump endorsed you. You're one of the guys President Trump depends upon. Why did we hit a brick wall in Georgia in the sting of the election? Because you've told us chapter and verse. You were with us from the evening, late in the evening of November 3rd, early morning of November 4th on. You were telling us exactly what happened in Fulton County, exactly what happened here, exactly what happened there. You said, hey, you're not going to win these Senate seats unless you get to the bottom of it. You've called every shot down there. President Trump respects you so much. He's endorsed you in this House seat in Georgia 10. But what is going on with MAGA so powerful and so many great folks from the Peach State in back of President Trump? Why have we hit the wall in Georgia, sir? Hey, you've got to. Hey, by the way, you've muted yourself, Vernon. You got to unmute.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's called the mute. Vernon, you sound like me on technology. That's called the mute unmute.
Well, let me tell you.
Okay, I know your rap was great. Let's start back at the beginning.
Okay. Well, yeah, we lay the blame at the feet of our Governor Brian Kemp. He was the one who started out dividing the party. He caved into Stacey Abrams. He caved into election integrity. He owns the House and the Senate in terms of the legislature. He's a part of the establishment. The establishment want to fight Donald Trump, want to fight MAGA. They've done it all alone. You and I both know that. We have a big issue. The media probably plays an even more important role. The Atlanta Urine and Constipation. I call it the Atlanta Urine and Constipation. With all the liberal media, they want us to not believe that we did not have election fraud in Georgia. They have been carrying the water to help Brian Kemp win the primary, the Republican primary, only to turn around and cut his head off and hand it to Stacey Abrams. And again, the establishment has always been fighting Donald Trump in his American First carriers, if you will, those like me and others who stand up for the American First agenda. The establishment can't accept it, and Brian Kemp is part of the establishment, and it's a mess. And you know what? You and I both know state and federal election laws were broken here in Georgia, but they would have you believe that nothing happened here. He wouldn't call a special session. He would not call for a complete audit, forensic audit. Why? Because he was a part of bringing dominion to Georgia. He was a part of keeping the legislature from investigating that backroom settlement agreement with Stacey Abrams between he, the Attorney General, and the Secretary of State. And not to mention, they brought Mark Zuckerberg in with a bunch of money to buy these drop-off boxes that were not blessed by the legislature. They were put into law by the executive branch. You know, it's Schoolhouse Rock, the legislative, judiciary, and executive. Well, it's a mess here. President Trump called it, but we're fighting. We're fighting tooth and nail because people here want a free, fair, and transparent election, and we're fighting the establishment. I'm proud to be fighting the damn establishment.
Here's you got to help me out here. I looked the other day. Stacey Abrams is on Star Trek. She's the president of the whole world. I think it's called the United Earth or something. She's become a Hollywood star. Why is the establishment in Georgia, the Republican establishment, grassroots is not afraid of Stacey Abrams. You're not afraid of Stacey Abrams. Donald Trump's not afraid of Stacey Abrams. Why is the establishment in Georgia, these country club Republicans, pencil necks, why does Stacey Abrams strike the fear of God in them?
Well, it's interesting. She's become the sacred cow. And I don't mean that in a way of physical being, but nobody can touch her. Everybody's afraid of her. The business community is afraid of her. Look, Coca-Cola caved into her. The baseball league caved into her. You know, we moved the baseball all-star game for Stacey Abrams. Coca-Cola has caved into Stacey Abrams. They all are afraid of her. They don't care about Georgia's values. They don't care about conservative values. They don't care about our children being taught CRT, which is teaching racism. Look what just happened last week. Not a word from many of the leaders here in Georgia, where you had a male to win a female swim meet. And then Charlie Kirk, there he is. He's eliminated from Twitter. Why? Because he said that a man who called himself a woman was a man. And even when you tell the truth now, you get canceled. But we have to fight them, Stephen. That's what they're afraid of. The business community is afraid here in Georgia. There was no Jim Crow law. It was Stacey's law. And anything Stacey says, it carries the day. And the liberal media here, they have their head so far up their butt. Like I said, you know, you're fighting the rhinos, you're fighting the establishment. You fighting these liberal plants. You have the Atlanta Journal-Constitution even hijacked when they have a candidate in the 10th congressional district, and they're trying to help him get elected. Can you imagine that in a Republican GOP primary in the 10th district, the AJC has a candidate that they're trying to help?
I didn't understand that because they don't want a MAGA, they don't want a Trump candidate. Vernon, we got to bounce. How do people find out about your campaign for Congress? How do they find out more about you?
Go to jonesforgeorgia.com, jonesforgeorgia.com. As you know, the president is coming right at the 10th Congressional District and the 9th District this Saturday, for another big Trump rally, and we're looking forward to that. But Steve, we're going to kick butts down here. We're not afraid to kick the butts down here. We're fighting. That's what we do here. We're just like you. We're fighting. We're true fighters.
And we're going to do a pregame on Saturday for when the rally, everything for the rally. We're going to do a pregame on. Vernon Jones, thank you very much. Honored to have you on here, sir.
Thank you, too.
Vernon Jones in Georgia 10. President Trump's going to do a rally this week. We'll be covering it wall to wall. Let's say we got Raynard Jackson. The great Raynard Jackson joins us. Raynard, you've got a problem with Mitch McConnell. I want you to tell me about your problem. A lot of people have problems with Mitch McConnell. I think you've got one in North Carolina, sir, is it? And Raynard, it takes a while to get you worked up. We got 2 or 3 minutes. I'm going to toss the ball to you. You're pretty fired up about this. What's your problem down in North Carolina with Mitch McConnell?
Well, the problem is back in the 2020 primary election for Senator Tom Tillis, as opposed to Senator McConnell investing money into bringing out black MAGA conservatives in North Carolina to support Tillis, Steve, I'm not exaggerating. Senator McConnell spent $2.4 million to help a liberal black female Democrat in the Democratic primary under the guise that she would be a weaker candidate facing Senator Tillis in the general. So let's pump up this radical black female. And, Cal Cunningham, her opponent, beat her going away. Wasn't even close. But McConnell took donors' money, Steve, and spent $2.4 million and threw it down the drain. That's how little Senator McConnell thinks of black conservatives, that they were willing to spend $2.4 million in 2020 to help a black radical Democrat versus investing that $2.4 million in my political action group, Black Americans for a Better Future. So that tells me all I need to hear about Senator McConnell's lack of leadership.
We're going to drill down on this for this week, but how do you know that for a fact? We got about a minute and a half. How do you know for a fact he gave $2.4 million to the radical black female running in that primary?
Because he had to report it on the FEC disclosure report, and in the column I wrote back then that your producers have, I put the links in there. So all you have to do is click on the link in my column from 2020. If you don't believe me, go click on the link, Steve, and it will take you directly to the FEC report. There it is, right there.
Okay, we got the column up. We got the column up right now, and I want everybody to link. I'm gonna have you. We're gonna go through it. I'm gonna have you back on here because I think people's heads are gonna blow up. Donor money going to a radical leftist. Raynard, social media. How do people follow you? Because you're back in the fight now. Had a little health problem. You're back in the fight. How do people get to you?
Thanks so much, Steve. I'm on Getter at Raynard Jackson. Thanks to you, Steve, working out that technical issue. Getter, Raynard Jackson. Facebook and Twitter, Raynard Jackson. Thank you, Steve, and let's go kick some butt.
Raynard Jackson, you're a fighter. I got to tell you, I love you, brother. Raynard Jackson. We're going to look at this and have you back on because I think people's heads are going to blow up. Okay. Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, we're going to get back into the confirmation hearing. We've got a lot on geopolitics, a lot on capital markets. Steve Cortez will be with us. Mike Lindell. We're going to go back to the machines out in Colorado. It'll be a packed 2 hours. We'll see you back here at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Of course, 5 to 7 p.m. in the evening, all in the war room. Until then, have a great night.